So, Pirates are 47 games into their season, a little past a quarter. So, let's talk about how they've done this season. Because, to be honest, it's actually better than I thought it'd be, but that it really isn't saying a whole lot. Pirates, 47 games in, have a 24-23 record. They just got swept by the Phillies. This season versus right-handed pitching, they have a 20-15 record, and versus left-handed pitchers is where they've really struggled, as they have a 4-8 record. It could be a lot better, and they are fourth place in the division as well, in a very competitive division at that. So you know what? Compared to where I thought this team would be at this point of the season, I'd say that's definitely an improvement. And if you look at the underlying statistics, they're actually pretty favorable for the Pirates, believe it or not. And so far this season, they are sixth in runs scored with 229 runs. They have the seventh most walks in the league at 187. They are sixth in stolen bases. They are fourth in on base percentage with 332. However, they have struck out 431 times, which is fifth most in the MLB. That is not a recipe for success. And I'll get more into that here in a bit. Now, if you look at the players individually, Oneil Cruz, it's no secret, I have ragged on Oneil Cruz many times in the past. Of course, game one, I yelled at him and I wanted him off the team because I didn't think his development was going anywhere. Since then, I have mixed opinions. I think at this point in his career, he is who he is. So far this season, in 45 games, he has 32 RBIs, 10 home runs, second most on the team, 324 on base percentage, 16 stolen bases, which is third most in the league, and a whopping but the glaring thing with Oneil Cruz is that he has struck out 72 times, which is most in the MLB, which is two more than Kyle Schwarber, who has 70 strikeouts. That needs to change. And that's a big reason why the Pirates have struck out the fifth most times of any team in the league. Strikeouts hurt. You don't gain anything from them. That's something you can't have. You cannot strike out the fifth most times in the league. You can't. That is not. Because at least if you're putting the ball in play, there's always a chance for a fielder to make an error or, at least drive in a run potentially. But when you strike out, nothing happens. You just get an out. That's it. So the Pirates need to start putting the ball in play more. That much is for sure. And Oneil Cruz is a big part of that. When he hits the ball, he hits it hard and he hits it far. But he has to make contact. And a lot of problem I have with Oneil Cruz is that he's always swinging at slop. He's always swinging at slop outside the zone that he shouldn't be swinging at. And he hasn't really improved a whole lot in that aspect. Now, I will cut him some slack as he has been probably the second best bat the Pirates have had this season, arguably, if not third. But that is definitely an area he needs to improve in. He needs to fix his plate vision. Bryan Reynolds, 26 RBIs, 4 home runs, a 384 on base percentage. He has walked 34 times this season, which is ninth most in the league. Pretty good, all things considered. Ryan O'Hearn, who is now, unfortunately, on the 10-day IL. Cherington says it'll probably be a 4-week injury, which is not good. I'll dive more into that later. So far this season, 29 RBIs, 7 home runs, 368 on base percentage. Pretty good. No complaints there. He's been a great acquisition for the Pirates this offseason. However, a slightly better acquisition has been Brandon Lowe. I don't think there's a team in the league that needed a Brandon Lowe more than the Pittsburgh Pirates. They needed him so unbelievably badly. Pirates second baseman all of last season hit 8 total home runs. 8. This season, Brandon Lowe already has 12. I think the Pirates desperately needed him. He has 12 home runs, 31 RBIs, and he has a 344 on base percentage. He's been great. I have no complaints with Brandon Lowe. He has been excellent over at second base. I just wish they wouldn't bench him every time they play a left-handed pitcher. Recently, past couple weeks, whenever they do face a left-handed pitcher, they'll tend to put Brandon Lowe towards the bottom of the order and they move Connor Griffin up in the order. No complaints. Nick Gonzalez has 19 RBIs, hasn't hit a home run yet. He's never been a power hitter, so I'm not super concerned with that. Which is why it made me super upset every time they would put him at cleanup batter last season. Because that's not who he is. He's not a cleanup batter. He's the kind of guy that'll get on base. He has a 380 on base percentage and a 318 batting average. That's really good, man. That's excellent. Connor Griffin, of course, the young guy. Now, I don't think he's had the start that I think most people expected him to have, but I would say he's still had a pretty decent start. 3 home runs, 20 RBIs, 317 on base percentage. If you give this kid 400 at bats, he is going to improve. He will. He's going to improve. Plain and simple. And so I do expect those numbers to go up by season's end. Marcell Ozuna, probably the biggest disappointment this season for the Pirates. 5 home runs, 16 RBIs, 271 on base percentage. He has like a 182 batting average. Not good. Right? He knows that. We all know that. He hasn't been good enough. However, I'm personally a big believer that when a player is struggling, and this goes for any sport, when a player is struggling, I always think it's better to encourage that player. Cheer them on next time they have an at-bat or something, right? Because there's no point in booing him, because that's just going to get in his head. So just, because we know what he's capable of. We've seen it. We've seen him do it before. But he has been a massive disappointment so far this year. Spencer Horwitz actually been pretty good. 19 RBIs, 3 home runs, 383 on base percentage. He's also been pretty good over at first base. I have no complaints with Spencer Horwitz. Now, sorry for the abrupt cut there. I had to sneeze really badly, and I'm sure you didn't want to see that. So here we are again. As I was saying, now I'm not going to go over the catchers because they've been alternating back and forth. Joey Bart is on the IL. They recently called up Endy Rodriguez, who had pretty good game in his first game against the Rockies. Henry Davis, we know who he is at this point. He is a very good defensive catcher. He's great behind the plate, and we've seen it time and time again. Runners don't tend to run on him. Whenever he's behind the plate, they don't tend to run on him because he has that good of an arm, and we've seen it. And that's why most, if not all, the pitchers want him to be their battery mate. We see it with Skeens, and we've seen it with Keller. those two really like Henry Davis a lot. And it shows as Henry Davis is always catching on Skeen starts. Now, my problem here with this team lies with the depth. The depth has not been good enough, not even close. Whether it's Jared Triolo, Jake Mangum, Billy Cook, or whoever else, Nick York, whoever else you want to put out there, those depth guys that don't play every day have not been good enough. They haven't. And they need to get better if this team is going to improve. As I mentioned, O'Hearn is hurt right now. He's on the 10-day IL, but that'll probably change to longer because Cherington expects it to be a 4-week injury. You're going to see guys like Jake Mangum and Billy Cook get in the lineup more often as a result. And if this team is going to go anywhere or do anything this season, one of those guys has to step up big time. Jared Triolo, he's similar to Henry Davis. He's really good defensively, but he cannot hit a beach ball. He can't hit a beach ball. Onto the pitching, because I'm tired of talking about the hitting. The pitching, also similar to the bats, hasn't been that bad, at least if you look at the surface numbers. 3.88 ERA, that's 11th in the league. Not amazing, but that'll keep you in the hunt for a while. A whip of 1.23 for those that are new to baseball. That means walks, hits per innings pitched. So essentially base runners per inning. 1.23, that is 8th in the league. The pitchers are allowing a 226 average, that is 7th in the league. They've allowed 168 walks, 13th. Not amazing. I'd like to get that number lower. But still, that'll keep you in the hunt for a while. And 421 strikeouts this season, that is 6th best. The starting pitching, outside of maybe a couple, we'll get into that, hasn't been the problem this season. It hasn't been. Skeens is being Paul Skeens, 2.62 ERA. Of course, he got plastered yesterday against the Phillies. 0.71 whip, that's amazing. 6-3 record. I don't particularly care about the records. But Skeens has been great. Keller, he had a bad game his last time out against the Rockies and had inflated his ERA to 3.59. A 1.08 whip, that's pretty good. 4-2 record. Carmen Mlodzinski, not as good. 4.40 ERA, 1.44 whip, 3-3 record. I still say he should be in the bullpen. That's just me. Ashcraft, 3.09 ERA, 1.05 whip, 2-2 record. He's been really good his past few starts. He's been really good. His start against the Phillies wasn't as good, but he kept the Pirates in that game, and he should have gotten a win for that. But, of course, the bullpen blew that one, which I'll get to. And then Chandler has been big disappointment this season. 5.14 ERA, 1.52 whip, 1-5 record. Now, I've said this all season. I'll say it again. Especially with Ashcraft and Chandler, you got to keep in mind this is their first full year in the big leagues for both these guys. So they're gonna struggle. Ashcraft has had his fair share of clunkers as well. Chandler, it's taking him a little longer to get into gear, but I fully believe that by the end of the season, he is going to improve, and I really believe that. I mean, not every pitcher is Paul Skeens, who just comes right up to the big leagues in less than a year and completely dominates big league hitters. That does not happen very often. It takes time. It takes time, and that's something you have to keep in mind. Onto the bullpen. I'm only going to talk about Gregory Soto here. 2.42 ERA, 0.85 whip, 3-0 record, 4 saves. Of course, he blew the save against the Phillies the other night on Friday night. But, as I said in the reaction video made, I'm willing to give him a pass because all season long he has been one of the best relievers. He's been one of the best relievers in the league. So I was willing to give him a pass. And before that game, he had like a 1.5 ERA, something like that. So I'm willing to give him a pass for that game because he's been that good, and I think he's earned that. However, it does stink knowing that the Pirates should have won that game. And I understand people may not be the biggest fan of Soto right now for that reason. I get that. But I think Gregory Soto is going to be fine. I think he's going to be fine. As for the other bullpen arms, Matson, Santana, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. Mason Montgomery, he still needs time. I would ideally like to see Mason Montgomery get another pitch. I think he's been fine this year. Justin Lawrence, I don't even know why he's on this team, to be perfectly honest. I don't care for him. Brandon Benoit, he's pitched like 3 innings so far. It's impossible to evaluate him right now. Johan Ramirez has had his ups and downs. You just hope that he can stay consistent. That's all I'm asking from him. But yeah, overall, I think the lefties have definitely been better in terms like Gregory Soto and Mason Montgomery. I think those two have definitely been the two best relievers the Pirates have had this season. And I don't even think it's particularly close. Dennis Santana, he's had his ups and downs. But Matson, Santana, they're not going anywhere. Ramirez, as I said, I'd like to see him be consistent. Justin Lawrence, I want him sent to Mars. I don't care for him. And he is, every team has that one reliever every year where their fan base rolls their eyes and groans whenever they come out to the mound. For me this year, that's Justin Lawrence. I'm sorry. I hope he gets better. I hope he improves. But right now, I cannot stand watching him. But that's enough yapping. Overall, what is my evaluation of the Pirates? I think this is definitely better than last year. Because at this point last year, you knew you were out of it. At least right now, you still feel like you have a chance to maybe compete. Maybe. But if you're going to do that, the bench players need to get better. And the bullpen needs to get more consistent. Those are the two main things. Guys like Billy Cook, Jake Mangum, Triolo, Endy Rodriguez, even Nick York, they need to get better. And then on the bullpen, as I mentioned, Santana, Ramirez, they need to be consistent. But yeah, I guess that's it for this one. Go Bucks, don't die.